The grand hall of the Celyari Empire was shining with crystal lights. Alien nobles in silver robes stood along the walls, watching with proud faces. It was the final day of peace talks between the humans and the powerful Celyari race. At the center of the hall, the tall alien princess stood on her throne. Her name was Princess Elana. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, and her long white hair flowed like water. She was beautiful, proud, and known for her sharp tongue. "Let the humans speak," she said, waving her jeweled hand. From the other side of the hall, a group of human diplomats and soldiers stepped forward. Among them stood Jack Mercer, a young soldier with tired eyes and a strong jaw. He wasn't dressed like a noble. His uniform was simple, his boots dusty from travel. But he stood tall, his gaze calm. One of the human diplomats began talking. Long words about peace, trade, and friendship. Most of the Celyari nobles looked bored. But Elana kept her eyes on Jack. She leaned toward her advisor and whispered, "Look at that human soldier. So serious, does he think he's special?" Her voice carried further than she expected. Jack heard her. Without blinking, he looked straight at her. His eyes were not angry, but steady, like he understood her insult and didn't care. "Princess," Elana smirked. She stood up, raised her hand, and said loudly, "Let me offer a little game." Everyone turned toward her. "In our culture," she said, "we have the trials of Kordax, deadly tests only our bravest warriors can pass. If that human survives all 3 trials, I shall marry him." The nobles laughed. The room echoed with alien voices. Even some humans chuckled nervously. But Jack didn't smile. He stepped forward, stood in the center of the room, and said in a quiet but clear voice, "I accept." The laughter stopped. The princess blinked. "You... what?" "I accept your challenge," Jack repeated. There was silence for a moment, then a wave of whispers spread through the hall. "Is he serious?" "No human has ever done the trials. He'll die." Elana's smile faded, a little. She didn't expect this. It was a joke, a way to mock the humans, but now her words had turned into a royal promise. And by Celyari law, royal words spoken in the hall were binding. She walked down from her throne and stood face to face with Jack. Even though she was taller than him, she suddenly felt small. "Why would you accept something like this?" she asked quietly, for his ears only. Jack looked into her glowing eyes and said, "Because you think we're weak. I want to show you we're not." He didn't say it with hate. He didn't sound angry. He sounded calm, controlled, like he had nothing to prove, but everything to say. Elana stepped back, unsure what to feel. The Chancellor of the Empire, an older alien with gold markings on his face, stepped forward. "The trials of Kordax are not just a game, human. They were designed for the old blood, for warriors born with fire in their bones." Jack nodded. "Then let's begin." Princess Elana looked at him one more time. She wanted to say, "Don't do this," but her pride wouldn't let her, so she just turned away and said, "Let the first trial begin at sunrise." Later that night, in her private chambers, Princess Elana stood near her window looking at the stars. "What kind of man are you, Jack Mercer?" she whispered. No human had ever survived the trials. She expected to watch him fail. But now, for some strange reason, she hoped he wouldn't. The drums began before the sun rose. They were deep, thunder-like beats that rolled across the rocky land of Kordax. The ground trembled under every strike. High above, on the cliffs surrounding the arena, alien nobles gathered with glowing robes and floating banners. The trial grounds had not seen a warrior in years, especially not a human. The pit of crawling fire was alive again. Jack Mercer stood at the edge of the pit, shirtless, his chest marked with strange symbols painted by the Celyari priests. His expression was calm, but his muscles were tense, his eyes fixed on the shifting, smoking ground below. Alien announcers spoke in loud voices. "This is the first trial. The human must pass through the crawling pit. Alive. No weapons. No help. Only instinct. Princess Ilana sat in a private viewing box above the pit. Her lips were tight, her fingers curled around her seat. She hadn't slept. What started as a joke now felt like a nightmare she couldn't undo. "He's going to die," her advisor whispered. She said nothing. The pit cracked open. A wave of heat burst out, making even the audience flinch. Inside the pit, the ground wasn't just hot, it was alive. Dozens of long, fire-colored creatures moved beneath the surface. They were called flame crawlers, armored insect-like beasts that spat burning acid and swarmed anything that moved. The trial master gave the signal. Jack jumped in. The moment his boots touched the ground, 3 crawlers shot up from beneath, hissing and glowing red. The audience gasped. Jack didn't panic. He moved fast, ducked under one, rolled between the others. His military training had sharpened his reactions. But this wasn't just a battle. This was survival. One crawler leapt at him. Jack grabbed a stone from the ground, red-hot from the heat, and smashed it against the creature's side. It screeched and burst into sparks. From above, the princess leaned forward. Her breath caught. "He's learning," she whispered. Crawlers surrounded Jack now. The heat was unbearable. Sweat poured down his face, his skin began to burn. Still, he didn't slow down. He stayed low, used the heat to track the creatures, and learned their rhythm. Then something strange happened. Instead of running, Jack stopped. He closed his eyes. Everyone watching fell silent. Was he giving up? No. He was listening. The crawlers moved through the ground in patterns. They weren't random. They followed vibration. Jack remembered something from Earth, sand snakes that hunted the same way. He lifted his foot, then slammed it down hard. Once. Then stood still. 2 crawlers rushed toward the sound and missed him completely. A Selyari warrior in the crowd stood up. "He's using echo movement. That's impossible." Princess Ilana's mouth dropped open slightly. "How does he know that?" Jack continued forward, slowly now. He used the enemy's nature against them. Every few steps he struck the ground to trick them, and when they jumped out, he dodged, rolled, or hit them hard. One by one, the beasts began to fall back. Even they were confused. In 10 long minutes, Jack reached the end of the pit. He stood beneath the final gate, his chest scorched, arms shaking. But his eyes were locked on the platform above. He looked straight at the princess. She stood up, stunned. "He made it," someone whispered behind her. Jack didn't raise his fists. He didn't cheer. He just gave a single nod, towards her. And then he collapsed to his knees, still breathing. Later, in the healing chamber, alien medics treated his burns with blue gel. The Chancellor stood nearby, watching silently. "He shouldn't have survived," the old alien said. Jack opened one eye. "But I did." From behind a glass wall, Princess Ilana watched quietly. She didn't smile. She didn't mock. She whispered only one word. "Why?" Because something inside her had changed, and she didn't know if she liked it or feared it. It was said the second trial didn't kill the body. It broke the mind. The trial of the frozen echo caves had claimed even the best of Selyari warriors. Cold that could freeze bone, shadows that whispered, and worst of all, voices. Voices that sounded like family, like enemies, like lovers, like yourself. And that morning, the human was being led there. Jack Mercer walked in silence as 2 armored guards escorted him through the narrow, icy valley. A light snow fell, dusting his shoulders. His burns from the last trial were still healing, under thin wraps, but he walked like a soldier, slow and steady, no complaints. From a distance, Princess Ilana watched from her transport craft, hovering above the valley cliffs. She said nothing, but her sharp eyes never left him. This time she didn't want him to die. This time she was afraid that he would. The entrance to the cave looked like the mouth of a monster, sharp, frozen teeth of ice hanging from the ceiling. Cold winds howled from within. No torches, no light. Only darkness, snow, and silence. Jack stepped inside without hesitation. The entrance sealed behind him. The darkness swallowed him. At first, the cold was biting but bearable. His training had prepared him for harsh weather. He moved slowly, marking the walls with his hands, feeling each icy ridge. Then, the cave began to speak, not with words, with memories. Jack. A soft voice floated through the tunnel. He froze. Jack. It's me. Mom. He looked around sharply. The cave was empty. But the voice sounded real. Too real. He kept walking. Minutes passed. Then another voice came. This time, a child's laughter. Uncle Jack, come play. He clenched his fists. The cave was playing, tricks digging into his thoughts. Then the worst came. Her voice. Princess Aelana. Is this really your fight, human? Her voice echoed through the cave. You think pain makes you worthy of love? Jack stopped. The air around him felt colder than ever. He had come to show strength, to prove a point. But now the cave wanted him to doubt himself. His vision blurred. The air grew heavy. The cave seemed to move, walls stretching, twisting, forming, faces. Faces of the dead. Faces he failed to save in war. The more he looked, the more they screamed. Jack dropped to one knee. Outside, alien monitors tracked his movement. He's slowing, said one technician. Signs of mental pressure are increasing. Princess Aelana stood behind them, arms crossed. Can we contact him? No, Your Grace. The cave blocks all signals. She stared at the screen showing his vitals. His heart was racing, his brain waves unstable. She bit her lip. He needs help. Inside the cave, Jack's breath came in short gasps. His fingers were numb, and the voices wouldn't stop. But suddenly, he heard something real. A hum, a song. He blinked. No, it wasn't the cave. It was him. His own voice. Humming a song his squad used to sing back on Earth. Something old, something simple. He focused on it. The cave trembled. The voices faded, slowly, then suddenly all at once. The cave fed on silence and fear, but it couldn't mimic rhythm. It couldn't mimic human music. Jack smiled slightly, still humming. He stood up. One slow step at a time, he moved forward, humming louder with each step. The cave's power began to break. 2 hours later, the cave's rear gate cracked open. Everyone outside turned as the snow-filled tunnel lit up with soft light. Jack emerged, cold, pale, but standing tall, still humming. Princess Aelana ran down from the platform before anyone could stop her. She stood just a few feet from him, stunned. You're bleeding, she said, eyes scanning the bruises and frostbite. I've been through worse, he said, his voice hoarse. You beat it? She asked. Jack tilted his head. It tried to bury me in my own regrets. But I remembered something. What? He gave a small smile. That even in the darkest places, humans find a way to sing. She stared at him, and for the first time she didn't see a human. She saw something more. The arena was empty, no spectators, no cheering crowds, no loud drums or glowing banners, just silence, and a single gate. This was the final trial, the most feared one, the trial of the mirror beast. Unlike the others, this challenge had no fire, no monsters, no traps, just one enemy, one creature, a creature that became your worst fear. Jack Mercer stood alone in the center, staring at the tall, arched mirror in front of him. It was not made of glass, but of a living, liquid metal. It shimmered softly, like it breathed. Above, in a dark tower, Princess Aelana watched behind a glass window. Her hands were clasped tightly, her face pale. Why is there no crowd, she whispered. The Chancellor stood beside her. Because no one celebrates this trial, Your Grace. The mirror beast has no audience. only victims. The gate creaked open. The mirror rippled like water. Jack stepped closer. And then it stepped out. A man. But not just any man. It was him. Jack froze. He saw himself. Same face, same scars, same eyes. But something was off. This version smiled cruelly. His eyes burned cold. His stance was twisted, like someone wearing his body but without his soul. The mirror beast had chosen, and it had chosen Jack himself. At first, Jack tried to speak. "What are you?" The copy tilted its head. "I'm the part of you you pretend doesn't exist." It moved faster than lightning, lunging forward, punching hard. Jack blocked, but the strength surprised him. He fell back, rolled, and got to his feet. "You're just a trick." "I'm you without the lies," it said. "I'm the man who gave up, the one who let his squad die, the one who doesn't believe in peace." Jack attacked, swinging a heavy strike. The copy caught his fist midair. "You're not a hero, Jack. You're tired, broken, alone." In the viewing tower, Elena's eyes were wide. She could barely watch. "What is it doing?" she asked. "It turns their guilt into a weapon," the Chancellor said. "Whatever he hides inside, we'll fight him now." Back in the arena, the fight grew brutal. The mirror version struck fast, always one step ahead. Every punch felt like a memory. Every blow came with a whisper. "You joined the peace mission not to help, but to run. You don't care about her. You just want to win. You're nothing." Jack dropped to his knees, gasping. Blood ran down his face, his muscles screamed, but then something changed. The copy raised its hand for a final blow, and Jack didn't fight. He stood still. He looked the creature in the eye and whispered, "You're right." The mirror beast froze. "I do carry guilt," Jack said softly. "I made mistakes, I have regrets, I have anger. But that's what makes me human." He took a slow step forward. "I'm not perfect, but I don't have to be." The beast's face twitched. Jack reached out and touched the copy's chest. "I don't deny you anymore, you're part of me. But I choose what I become." The mirror beast cracked. Its face broke into lines. Its chest shattered like glass, and then silence. The creature dissolved into silver dust and vanished into the wind. The arena lights flared. The trial was over. Jack stood in the middle, bloody but calm, breathing deeply. He didn't raise his arms. He didn't smile. He had fought the hardest enemy of all, himself. In the tower, Princess Elana sat down slowly. Her eyes were glassy. She whispered, "He won, by accepting his weakness." The Chancellor nodded. "That is something even we do not understand." She looked down at the man in the arena. She no longer saw him as just a human. She saw him as a warrior, a mirror of everything her people refused to face. And she knew, deep inside, this was no longer a game. That night, it rained on Kyrix for the first time in over a year. The cold winds whispered through the high towers of the Celyari capital. Lights flickered across the stone city, and the rain danced on the rooftops like a quiet warning. Inside, the palace infirmary, Jack Mercer lay still, bandaged and bruised. His body had survived the 3 deadly trials, but something else had changed. Not just inside him, but around him, and deep beneath the palace, something ancient had awakened. In the royal chamber, Princess Elana sat alone. She had dismissed her guards, her court, even her advisors. In her hands, she held an old data scroll. Its writing was faded, etched in ancient Celyari code. It was her family's secret passed down through generations. She had never cared to read it before. But after Jack completed the trials, curiosity burned inside her like fire. The scroll spoke of something older than the Empire itself. When the outsider survives the fire, the cold, and the mirror, the path shall open. The blood of stars shall choose again. She read it once, more than whispered. The trials weren't meant to test warriors, they were made to find something. Elsewhere, Jack opened his eyes. He was no longer in the infirmary. He was standing in a glowing chamber made of crystal and stone. But it wasn't real. It was a vision. Before him stood a giant hologram, an alien figure with 6 arms, ancient robes and eyes like galaxies. "You are awake, Skyborn," it said. Jack frowned. "Skyborn?" The figure nodded. "You carry the spark. That which we sealed inside humanity long ago. Hidden in your kind. Waiting. Waiting for what? For one to survive the path. Fire, ice, self. These were not just trials of strength, they were keys, and now, the gate is open." The vision faded. Jack sat up in the infirmary, gasping. He looked around. The medics rushed to him, but his eyes were on the sky. Something had shifted. Something big. That same hour, in the Royal Strategy Chamber, alarms began to flash. A scout ship had discovered strange energy signatures in the mountains near the final trial. Ilana ran into the command. "Center, what is it?" The technician pointed to a large map showing pulsing lights. "Something is activating. We thought it was dead tech from the old world, but it's not. It's waking up." "Because of the trials?" she asked. "Yes, Your Highness. And the human is connected to it." The next morning, Jack stood at the edge of a canyon where the final trial had ended. The landscape had changed. Crystals were rising from the ground, humming with light. Ilana landed beside him in her hovercraft. She stepped out, wearing a sleek silver cloak. "You didn't just survive," she said. "You unlocked something. Something our ancestors left behind." Jack looked at her. "What are you saying?" She stepped closer. "The trials were built by the first Starborn, long before our empire. They believed a time would come when peace would fail, and only one with a human heart and alien strength could restore balance." He raised an eyebrow. "You think that's me?" Ilana didn't answer. She just stared at the glowing canyon below, then quietly said, "I thought you were just a soldier trying to prove himself, and now? Now I think you're part of something none of us understand." That night, Jack sat on the balcony of the palace looking at the stars. Ilana joined him in silence. She sat beside him, not as a princess, but as someone searching for truth. "Do you still want to marry me?" she asked, almost joking, but her voice was soft. Jack smiled slightly. "I didn't do this for you." She nodded. "I know." He looked at her, his voice quiet. "But maybe I didn't do it for myself either." They both fell silent, because deep down they felt it. The trials were just the beginning. The real test was coming. There was no announcement, no gathering, no drums, just a message delivered to Jack in the middle of the night. "Come alone. The final trial has revealed itself. The trial of the stars awaits." He read the message twice. No signature, no seal, only coordinates. High in the mountains where even Celyari ships avoided flying, where the sky itself was said to test the soul. Before leaving, Jack stood quietly at the palace gates. Princess Ilana found him there, wearing a dark cloak, eyes sharp. "You're going, aren't you?" she asked. Jack nodded. "It called me." She hesitated, then said, "We don't know what this trial is. It's not part of our history. It wasn't meant for us." "Maybe it was meant for someone like me," Jack replied. He started to walk, away, then paused. Without turning, he said, "I don't know if I'll come back." Ilana's voice cracked slightly. "Then let me say this before you go. I no longer think you're just a joke." He smiled, just once, before disappearing, into the night. The climb was brutal, jagged cliffs, blinding winds, no paths, no lights. Jack's fingers bled, his lips cracked, oxygen thinned with every step, but he kept moving, drawn by something deeper than curiosity, something older than language. He reached the top as the first light of dawn broke, and there it was, a giant circular platform made of ancient alien stone. Symbols glowed softly across it, star maps, runes, and spiral patterns. At its center stood a spire made of crystal, humming like it was alive. Jack stepped forward. The moment his boots touched the platform, the sky changed. Lightning cracked across the clouds. The air became heavy. Stars above seemed to move, realigning like a puzzle. A beam of light struck the platform, lifting Jack into the air. He didn't fight it. He floated, suspended in the storm, and then he saw everything, memories that weren't his, worlds burning, empires rising and falling, war that had once torn galaxies apart, and a single race, long gone, who had hidden their knowledge across the stars. The Starborn. They had split their power into trials, each one a key, not just to find a champion, but to awaken the last remnant of their will. The stars will not choose strength alone, a voice echoed in Jack's mind. They will choose balance, they will choose you. Far below, Princess Aelana watched from her ship. She had disobeyed the order to stay behind. As she looked up, tears welled in her eyes. Lightning danced above the peak. Then, boom! A pulse of energy exploded from the mountain. The ship rocked in the air. Everyone shielded their eyes. When the light faded, Jack stood alone on the platform, alive, changed. His body glowed faintly, like starlight had touched him. Symbols were burned into the ground beneath his feet. The trial of the stars had ended, and he was its answer. Hours later, back in the palace, Jack was silent as healers examined him. They found no wounds, but they found something else. His DNA had shifted, just slightly, a perfect fusion of human and starborn code. He was no longer just a man. He was something new. In the royal hall, Princess Aelana addressed the Empire. She wore no crown, only truth on her face. "The trials are complete," she said, "and the human Jack Mercer is no longer a visitor. He is now a part of our world, chosen by something far older than our throne." Some nobles murmured, others bowed. And Jack? He simply stood beside her, silent and calm. Not proud, not afraid, just ready. Because he knew the story wasn't ending. It was only now beginning. The news spread across the galaxy in less than a day. The human had completed the forgotten fourth trial. The stars had chosen him, and now every leader, every empire, every species wanted to know one thing. Who is Jack Mercer? Back on the capital, world of the Celyari Empire, life had changed overnight. The palace, once a cold place of politics and pride, now buzzed with something new. Hope, fear, wonder. Princess Aelana walked the royal halls like a storm in silence. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't focus. All she could think about was him. Jack sat alone in the quiet garden behind the palace. Night air cooled his skin. The stars above, once distant, now felt closer. He could feel their quiet hum deep inside his chest. He wasn't just a man anymore. He was still human, but changed. The trial of the stars had left something inside him. Not power, not magic, clarity. He could hear more, feel more, not like a god, but like someone who finally understood. Princess Aelana stepped into the garden quietly. She didn't wear her royal dress. Just a simple robe, silver and soft. Jack didn't turn. "You're quiet," she said. "I was listening." "To what?" He pointed at the stars. "They're not silent. We just never knew how to hear them." She moved beside him and sat on the bench. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she whispered, "You changed everything." Jack looked at her. "No, you did. When you made that joke." She blushed, just slightly. "It wasn't supposed to mean anything." "It did to me," she looked down. "I thought you'd die. I thought I would too." A new silence formed between them, this one warmer, softer. Then Aelana turned serious. "Do you know what happens next?" "No," Jack said, "but I have a feeling the real trial hasn't started yet." She nodded slowly. Other empires will come. Some will want to use you. Some will want to destroy you. I know. And us? She asked, voice low. The Selyari? We are not kind to outsiders. Jack didn't answer at first. Then he said, maybe it's time for your people to see what kindness looks like. The next day, a message was sent from the Selyari palace. Not a warning, not a demand. An invitation. To the leaders of the great galactic powers, to the refugees on broken ships, to the warlords hiding behind asteroid fields. The message was the same. Come see what the stars have chosen. Come meet the one who walked through fire, ice, shadow, and sky, and came back. The Great Hall was prepared, and Jack Mercer, the first ever starborn human, stood at its center. Alien ships began to arrive, leaders of iron-skinned war races, floating mines of crystal, whispering plant beings, even the robotic archivists from the dead moons of Yora. They all came, not to attack, not to invade, to understand. Jack didn't give a speech. He simply told his story about the first trial, how fire doesn't burn only skin, but pride. About the second trial, how cold doesn't only freeze bodies but memory. About the third trial, how the enemy within is the most dangerous of all. And the fourth, he paused. The fourth trial wasn't about surviving, he said. It was about accepting that we don't have to be perfect to bring change. That a human heart, broken and flawed, can still carry the weight of stars. There was no applause, only silence. Powerful silence. The kind that comes before transformation. Later, that night, Princess Aelana found Jack once again in the garden. I've been watching the others, she said. Even the ones who once hated us are listening to you. They're not listening to me, Jack said. They're listening to what's been missing. Which is? Understanding. She sat beside him again. Do you know how strange? This is for me? How? You were supposed to be a joke, a challenge I threw like a stone in the water. I never expected you to matter. Now, she hesitated. Now? I think about you. All the time. And I don't know if it's because the stars chose you, or because I did. Jack turned to face her fully. You asked me before if I wanted to marry you, he said gently. She flushed. I remember. He smiled. I still don't want to marry a princess. Her face dropped slightly. Oh. He leaned closer. But I might want to marry you. She blinked, stunned. You mean that? He took her hand. Simple, warm, real. I didn't come here to fall in love. I came to prove something. But sometimes, proving strength leads you to the thing you never expected. She swallowed hard. Love. No, Jack said with a grin. Home. The wedding wasn't public. It wasn't broadcast across galaxies. It was held in the garden, under the same stars that once tested Jack's soul. The only witnesses were a few trusted friends, a Selyari elder, and the stars themselves, as they placed the glowing silver bands on each other's wrists, the ancient symbol of Selyari bonding. The wind picked up, but this time, it didn't howl. It sang, softly, like a lullaby from the universe itself. Years later, historians would call it the shift. The moment peace became stronger than pride. The moment one man's trials lit the path forward for all species. But Princess Aelana and Jack Mercer wouldn't think of it that way. To them, it was something simpler. Not a legacy, not a legend. Just the story of a girl who made a joke, and a man who took it seriously and in doing so changed everything.